All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. Welcome to the interview. This is the interview. I'm your host, Day Day. Today I have a special guest with me. And first, I'm just gonna go down his accolades. So with me, I gotta keep my phone out because it's a lot of things to mention. But with me today, he is currently the athletic director of H.J. McDonald Middle School, head of the PE department, the head coach of football, basketball, soccer, and the boys track and field. He is also a volunteer firefighter, an organizer, a head of the skateboard club at H.J. McDonald, manager of a pool in Trent Woods Country Club, lover of vans, a dad, a newly grandpa. At last, he is a 6-time conference champion in track and field, and he's last year's basketball conference champ in this year, if I'm not mistaken. He also won Teacher of the Year award before. This is the man of many hats, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Reid. And I'm going to clap it up. I know it ain't nobody really here right now, but I'm going to clap it up for him.
Thank you.
So,
David.
Mr. Matt Reid, I call him Coach Reid because he was my coach. So, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. This is quite an honor. It's funny to be on the other side of somebody talking, and not knowing what the questions are and that sort of thing. So if I seem a little nervous, I'm like, but no, this is awesome. This is great.
And I can't start an interview off without giving you your flowers. I'm not trying to copy Drink Champs, but I want to give coaches flowers because everything that he has done for not just me, but all the students and his current players, past players, even current, everything that he's taught and the person that he is and everything that he has accomplished. He's a true blessing. So I want to give you your flowers while you're here because sometimes we're not here tomorrow. So you deserve those flowers.
Well, I appreciate it.
I want to give you your flowers while you're here while I have you.
I appreciate it.
So with that being said, let's just kind of move on. Let's just talk about the championship that you won this year. How was that and that feeling in basketball?
It was amazing. It helps when you've got a kid in the 7th grade who's 6'3" and doing in-game dunks. But he was surrounded by amazing players that were true teamwork kids. They love to come to practice. Right. They love to work hard, and they distributed the ball well. They did, everything they were supposed to do. They were very coachable. In fact, that's what I told Coach Campbell at the high school. I said, you're getting a lot of kids that are very coachable kids. And they follow it. They listen to what you say. Mm-hmm. Coach Phillips and I were, super excited when we picked these kids out of, we had a lot try out. And when you have success, it's hard to have 60 kids try out for, 15 spots on a basketball team and breaking a lot of hearts. It's hard to do. That's the worst part of the job. But yeah, these kids they worked great together and even AJ, he's a super humble, quiet, kid who distributed the ball well. They wanted everybody to score. So it was really it was a great team to coach.
And that's good to have because I know me coming up, playing ball and stuff, you see a lot of egos and people that's not coachable. So you didn't really have any problems?
No, we really didn't. And a couple of the kids that came had tried out a couple of years in a row and had not made it. Mm-hmm. And then made it in the end, and they really showed out. So that was nice, too, because they kept working at it. And it's one of the things I tell the ones that don't make it is keep trying, man. Keep working, hit the gym, go play on a travel team, play rec ball, whatever you can do, get your ball on it, wherever you are, and keep working at it. Because it's not that they're not good enough to play. Mm-hmm. They just didn't fit where we needed them in the puzzle pieces to go,
And so since you're on that topic, go a little bit deeper on that because I always wondered for you how that felt to, like you say, it's heartbroken when you see some of the kids who don't make it that's right there. How does it really make you feel? Like, because I know they're, like you say, they're right there. Sure. And I can imagine sometimes they could have easily kind of replaced somebody else who made it.
Right.
Because they're just as better.
It is. And a lot of times you take a kid who's in the 8th grade who has this set of skills, and then you've got a 6th or a 7th grader that has this set of skills, and they're about the same.
Right.
And it's hard to break the heart of an 8th grader.
Right.
But you can work with a 6th or 7th grader for a year or two. You know, you've got a little time to develop them. But it is hard. There's a set of kids that come out just to try out for basketball.
Yeah.
And they know they're probably not going to make it, but they want to make the first cuts, or that's their goal.
See what happens.
But the hardest part is the ones that they play hard, they work hard, and they're on other travel teams and that kind of thing, and it's just one of those things where you've only got a certain number of uniforms. We only have one team, and it's the hardest part of the job. I can't stand it.
Got to be done.
Right, it does.
Gotta be done.
And a lot of times it makes them work harder, to where they want to come back and prove me wrong. All right, you cut me this time, coach, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to make your daggone team one of these days. So, and a lot of kids, we've done this in the past where we've taken a kid that was right on the border, and you say, would you come work with the team? Be a manager type thing.
Yeah, you do. You always done that.
Yeah. And they practice with the team. They do the drills with the team. They do everything with the team. And let's say a kid gets suspended, gets thrown off the team. I can move him into the spot. You can earn your spot in, which is nice. And I've tried to do that. And some kids are into it, and some kids are like, well, if I can't really be on the team, I don't know, coach.
Yeah, I like that. And just my input on it too, like for kids or whatever that may be watching, stay doing it, because just because you don't make it in middle school don't mean you can't make it when you get to high school. When I came up, there were some kids who didn't make it in middle school and actually made it in high school.
Sure.
So don't give up just because you don't make it. I mean, look at Jordan, what he did, and look and see he was cut. So it's always possible. So that's just my input on that. But I like that. I always wonder how you felt in that process.
Oh, it's horrible. I mean, it really is. It's absolutely. And you hear other coaches joke about, oh, I can't wait to make cuts and get rid of some of these. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Because you are putting yourself out there. When you try out for a team, whether it's soccer or football or basketball or whatever, you're putting yourself out there saying, this is what I've got. This is what I'm offering you, coach. Am I good enough to make your team? And I do. I tell them all the time when I gather them all together, I say, guys, it's not that you're not good. You're great basketball players. Every last one of you have got talent. Everybody's at a different level, but there's, a handful of you that are, right there. I could easily put you on the team.
Yeah.
But you look and you think, well, I've got 2 or 3 small point guards. I need some guys that are a little bit bigger. A lot of times size is a variant.
Yeah.
When you look and you go, I can't coach size, or I can't coach speed, or there's that guy in practice, he might not make a shot, but he's always diving on the floor. He's going after every loose ball. He's, when we run sprints, man, he is the first one back every time. And you go, you know what? You can't coach hustle.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where you're like, man, I got to keep this guy.
Right.
I'd be crazy if I didn't,
I like that.
So, yeah, you'll see guys that, drain the threes and you go, they're not bad, but they didn't quite give it. It didn't look like they were giving me 100%, So,
all right. So, one main reason for this interview, I want people to know who Coach Reid is too, aside from being a coach, all the good things that you do, and being a teacher. Let's talk about your upbringing. Who was Coach Reid as a kid? How was he raised coming up? Like, how was your upbringing?
Okay. I was adopted. I was.
I did not know that.
I did. Yeah. I was adopted through the Children's Home Society in Greensboro. My birth mother was in, I guess, college in the other side of the state. Mm-hmm. And my parents were unable to have kids, and so they applied to have, a child. And so when she put me up for adoption, then they went through the whole process, and then they called them and said, look, we got a little boy, come pick him up, And so I was raised by adopted parents, and I knew I was adopted from the get-go, which is cool.
And what age were you? Like
I was a baby. Yeah, I was months old when I was adopted. So that was neat. I mean, it's cool. When I told somebody one time that the first time I saw Susanna, my daughter, when she was born, it was the first person I realized I was actually related to when I saw them.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I mean, this is somebody that I'm related to by blood, Right. But yeah, I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
That's where you was born at, Fayetteville?
I was actually born in another part of the state, but on my birth certificate or whatever, it says Fayetteville. And my birth parents are not on my birth certificate. My adopted parents are. Right. So I'm born and raised and grew up in Fayetteville. And I mean, I was always, I wasn't the best athlete in the world. I said, but I always, we played, street, pick up basketball all the time. We played baseball. We played football in the yard. I mean, we always were playing something. Or we were on our bikes and we were in the woods and we were riding around. I mean, we just grew up and the same guys that I grew up with are still some of my closest friends, to this day.
Your adopted parents how were they? Like, were they strict?
They were, but they were, I mean, very loving parents. Mm-hmm. My dad was an attorney in Fayetteville. My mom started out as a teacher and then she stayed at home, when we were growing up. Just regular. I mean, to me, it was, people think of Fayetteville as kind of a rough place, right. Fort Bragg, rough place, but I grew up in the Haymount district of Fayetteville, and it was a great place to grow up. Right. It was not, as rough as people think it is. Right. People think it is.
Did you play like a lot of the sports that you actually coach?
I did. I was never a great basketball player, but I always played, at the Y and the rec center. I played football when I was younger. I played football at Terry Sanford High School when I went to high school.
What position?
Offensive line.
Offensive line.
Oh, I loved it. I was pulling guard and sometimes tackle. Right. I threw the shot put and the discus and track. When I was in high school. If I tried out for basketball, my goal was to make the first cut. I was one of those kids that got cut.
Yeah.
Because I was not, wasn't a great basketball player, but I loved, being active and doing things all the time. So, right. And yeah, we normal, Christian household upbringing, yeah, I mean, I feel like it was pretty normal.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, man. You messed me up with that because out of all these years, I promise I never knew you were adopted.
No kidding.
I never knew that. So that's shocking for me. I never knew that.
I was. And my sister was too. I have a sister. She was adopted, I think she was born in Virginia. And that was just the two of us.
Did you say your real dad, biological dad, did you say was he? I know you say your mom.
So my birth mother was in college, and she knew that she couldn't afford to keep me, so she put me up for adoption.
So was the birth dad, was he just way out of the picture though?
They did not get married or stay together.
Right.
It's funny, with all of the stuff where you can do the DNA testing and everything like that. John did it. My son,
right?
Because he was curious to figure out where I might have come from, like where our family, the genes came from.
Family tree.
Right, exactly. Right. So he did it, and he actually emailed. He somehow a name popped up that he was related to, but it wasn't anybody that he knew because of my adopted family or whatever. And so he asked me. He said, "Dad, are you interested in finding out who any of your people you might be related to?" And I said, "No, I'm good." And he said, "Okay." I think he was curious, and I don't. It's fine. I mean, I said, "But son, here's the deal. My parents raised me, brought me up right. They are my family. My sister, my parents, my adopted parents, or my family, and even though they've passed away, that's my family.
Right.
So I think he said, if you want to, I can give you the names. And I'm like, nah. And he hasn't pursued it any further because I told him I wasn't interested. But because they were my family. Right. And I think somebody who I am related to by blood, but I don't know them. I mean, I'm 57 years old. I wouldn't have known them for 57 years. So it's not somebody that I want to reach out to. And it may seem weird to people that see that, but my family is who my family was, so that's kind of, what I'm tagged to,
Okay.
See, I kind of threw you for a loop there,
you
didn't I?
did. No, you really, I never knew that.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, man, Coach, I never knew that. That's new. You also was a first time grad, right? Like, are you older than your sister?
My sister's younger than I am, so she's 3 years younger than I am.
Okay.
I graduated. After high school, I went to Elon College for a couple of years, and then I transferred to ECU. I did not know what I wanted to do, but one of the teachers that I had said, Matt, you really ought to think about a smaller school. Mm-hmm. I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. I mean, I did. Embarrassingly enough, I wasn't a stellar student. I did enough to get by, but I was not tops in the class and all that stuff. So going to Elon was great. And at the time in 1985, Elon was just Elon College. It was a small school. Now it's like Davidson money. I mean, it's super expensive. It used to be one of the cheapest private schools in North Carolina. Right. And it was perfect for me. The people, I met some great people that are still good friends of mine today. The professors knew that I was in class, which was good. But then after a couple of years, I thought, you know what? I want something bigger. I want to go to, a bigger university. So I went to ECU and I loved it. I mean, it was great. But I probably should have stayed at Elon because it was small and it would have kept me in line because, ECU's big, man. It's a big place, a lot going on.
Is it bigger than Elon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ECU is real big, and it's one of those things where, you might be in a class with a big auditorium class with 200 or 300 people, and I'm like, they wouldn't know if you're there. You know what I mean?
So what kind of person was Mr. Matt Reid in college? Did you skateboard in college? Like, what kind of?
Not as much.
Like the party? Like, what kind of person?
Oh yeah. I mean, we did. Oh gosh, yeah, we did. Probably, like I say, I went more than 4 years, so But yeah, it was funny. I drove a bus at ECU. ECU's got a great bus system that goes around campus. Right. So as soon as I got there, I wanted to find out how I could make a little money, so I started working with the buses at ECU, and I started driving buses. And what's funny is you see people downtown, and they're like, "Hey, I know that guy. He's my bus driver." So it was.
So you got your CDLs.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was driving.
I ain't had that in my introduction.
Yeah, I was driving buses. I drove buses when I worked at the YMCA when I was in high school. Right. I mean, so yeah, I worked moving in stores. I drove big moving trucks. Went over the summer. So yeah, I've been doing that for forever. But yeah, I went to ECU, and I can remember my dad saying, "Son, if you go to school much longer, you're going to need a law degree or something when you get out. You just can't go to school forever, that kind of thing." So I did. I got out of school, and no, I had a ball. Man, I lived with some great friends of mine, and we had a big time.
What kind of degree or so?
I got a degree in political science, poli-sci, and I had a minor in English. And I started working at a pawn shop in Greenville when I was up there. And then when I moved to New Bern with my partner, we opened up a pawn shop here. So I ran a pawn shop for years before I got into teaching.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of things, like, I mean, I know so you just sell pretty much anything?
Oh,
like
yeah.
TV?
Right. So a lot of people that don't know what pawn shops are, it's a short-term loan. So you can go in there and you bring in television or your wedding ring or whatever, and you say, "I need to get $20," and you borrow $20 against it. When you come back to pay it off, we give you your stuff back. It's a collateralized loan. You bring collateral in, and Now, if you don't pick it up, they put it out on the floor and sell it to get their money back out of the loan that they made. And I did that for years. And my partner still has a pawn shop in Kinston, and he's doing great. Right. It was time for me to move on and do something different. I figured I'd be doing retail my whole life, and I needed to try something different. And so some friends of mine said, man, you've always worked with kids. I mean, even when I was at ECU, I coached Pop Warner football in Winterville. I helped do soccer stuff. I mean, I always have, I worked at summer camps in the summer. I worked at Camp Seagull. I ran a YMCA camp in Fayetteville that had, all kinds of activities and everything. So I've always been around kids. I've always worked with kids. And somebody said, you ought to be a teacher. Right. And I'm like, I don't know, man.
And that was one of your friends that said that?
Yes.
So was that a time for you where what was that time when you really was like, I'm going to go for it?
So I had sold the business. I sold my part of the business, and my partner kept his part in Kinston because he wanted to keep doing it.
Right.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. And a friend of mine said, man, you ought to teach. So I started substituting, and I substituted at Grover. I substituted at HJ. I mean, it was so funny. The very first sub job I had was at Ben Quinn in kindergarten. And I can remember walking in, they're all sitting on the little carpet, and they look up at me. And this little girl looks at me and goes, I've never had a boy teacher before. I said, well, you're going to have lots of them. So, but yeah, and then after about 6 months of subbing, they started talking about, looking for openings, and they're like, you could do lateral entry. Because I didn't have an education degree. I just had a degree in political science. And they said, you can do lateral entry where you'll have to take some classes, but you can start teaching like history in the middle school. And so Mr. Deal hired me at Grover, and I started at Grover in 2001. And the rest of it, they say, is history.
So for people who don't know, he actually was at Grover
first.
He was at Grover first. So you say 01.
Yep, 01.
Okay.
I was there a month before 9/11 hit.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, guys like Marcus Simmons will come up to me and go, Coach, you still got some grizzly in you, don't you? And I'm like, I said, Marcus, I do, only because you asked me. I said, but man, I'm going to work up now,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the hardest thing. It literally would be like Dean Smith leaving Carolina to go coach at Duke. When I got the job, when Coach Thornton came to me and said, man, I want you to coach football here at HJ, I got a social studies job you can do. And that first year is tough because all those eighth graders, were like, why'd you leave, Coach? Man, we're going to kill you. We're going to come after you. I mean, so yeah, I went, I left the enemy, and came over here to coach. So yeah, it was,
how was that? Teaching, what was like the challenges in teaching for you? Like when you actually started and throughout all the years, what's the challenge you feel like comes with teaching?
Trying to keep everybody interested and focused. It's a lot like coaching. You have guys at different levels, and in the classroom is the same way. I try to make it fun. I try to pick out things that were, and the good thing about social studies was it wasn't a tested subject at the time. Right. And so, I could talk about pirates and blood and guts, and, I could talk about wars, and, I could do things that were cool, and I try to come up with cool projects to get them involved. Yeah. And I wanted it, and I can remember a teacher saying, you're not really following the pacing guide or what. I'm like, pacing guide, come on, guys. I want the kids interested. I want them to learn something. Right. So yeah, that and the challenge, I guess, at first was discipline, because when I first started, I was used to working with kids, and you were more of their friend, their buddy at summer camps and YMCA after school programs and things like that. You didn't have to be a strict disciplinarian. You were more of an uncle, a mentor, an uncle, a friend, that kind of thing. And so that was realizing that I had to kind of be put on the brakes real hard at first and slowly let off the brakes instead of trying to put them on later on after they've, because kids are, I was one of those kids. You give me an inch, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take a mile,
But feel like you was a strict teacher?
I was, sort of.
Didn't play?
I didn't I think the kids knew. I would tell them, don't take my kindness for weakness, because I'm going to, definitely. I want you to learn something, but I wanted it to be interesting. I couldn't stand to be just an old boring, note-taking teacher that just, beat them down all the time. I also had kids that were really good at projects and some kids that were really good at testing and really, so you kind of figure out what works for them and kind of balance, what you can do for them. And so, but yeah, and it's funny. I've had kids come up to me later and tell me, Austin Arrington was a guy that I taught, and he is a teacher at West Craven. And he said, Coach, I teach because you were my teacher. I teach social studies just like you did, and it was all because of you. So it's like, dude, if you've got through to one, I mean, that's just amazing. Yeah. I mean, so it's very cool, and he's an amazing teacher.
Okay.
So yeah, it makes you feel good.
What was that transition to? Because you do PE now, right? PE. Do you like that better?
I do.
You do?
I don't have to grade paper. I mean, and also most kids like to come to PE.
Right.
There's some that don't, but
yeah.
There's a majority of your kids that don't want to go to math.
Right.
They're like, I don't want to do language arts today, but PE is like, yeah, cool. I'm going to PE. We get to run, we get to jump, we get to, talk in class, and we get to play games or weight room or whatever we're doing.
Speaking of weight room, you guys just, how long, talk about the weight training program.
Yeah, it's cool.
When did that start?
When Mr. Wallace was here. When Tabari came, trying to think what year it was.
Because we definitely didn't have that.
No, I know. You didn't. And he called me up on the phone over the summer and said, Coach Reid, I want a weight room. I'm like, okay. He said, we got to get it together. I said, well, what do you want me to do? He goes, get it together. Make it work.
Where is it at? So it's here, right?
Yeah, it's over in the school. It's behind the office over in the 6th grade. It used to be a big, like a lab. It has it used to have an accordion door in the middle of 2 classrooms.
Okay.
It has a sliding door at one end. And he said, I'll get rubber floors in there, but we got to figure out how to get stuff in. Call people. So the cool thing was it had to be after New Bern won one of its state championships, because when they redid their weight room, they had some old equipment they were trying to get rid of.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. Yeah.
And I got some of his stuff from New Bern. I got some stuff from, West Craven had redone some stuff. Pamlica donated some stuff. The country club where I worked had a workout center that they got rid of some ellipticals. I went to every yard sale I could find and bought dumbbells. We did order some things, but I recovered the benches. We painted them black and red. We put red covers on them, and it's really an impressive weight room for a middle school.
It is.
I mean,
so you do have like some people who may say like, I don't know how true it is, but some people say like, if you lift weights too early, it'll stunt your growth, stuff like that. How you feel about that, and what kind of, do they like lift? Or
they do now, but what they do is they do more lower weights, more repetitions.
Gotcha.
So you can't, if most places will tell you, once by the time you're in middle school, weight training is good for anybody, because it allows muscle mass to cover bones, to protect your body, if it gets hit, if you fall off a bicycle, or, you get hit in a game. It also works on balance and coordination and your core strength. And we do a lot of, and we also do rest days in between. So we'll do back and bicep day on Monday. We'll do a leg day on Wednesday. We'll do like a free lift on Friday, or a cardio day where we go out and, play games and run and that sort of thing. So it's not, it's not regimented every day. It's weightlifting on one day, health on Tuesday, weightlifting on Wednesday, health on Thursday, and we kind of spread it out. It's a great way to introduce them. When they get to the high school and the coach over there says, I want you to do preacher curls, my kids will know what they are. Even the girls will know.
Right.
Because like we do preacher curls on bicep day. I mean, you know what that is, guys. And we've got the machines so they can put the pins in the machine and do it. They don't have to do all free weights. Right. I keep them away from deadlifting and things like that. I mean, we do more, like I say, the machine. I've got some Nautilus type machines and things like that. So it works out good. It works out good.
Okay.
and it's open to anybody. So I have kids in there that are real athletes that love to do it. And then I tell kids also, this is a lifetime sport. You'll be doing this for the rest of your life. Look at the little old ladies in Planet Fitness, lifting little tiny weights and keep doing it,
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it can help them out. And I tell them all, I said, look, if you go play sports at the high school, they're going to put you in a weight training class.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to give them the edge up. So
yeah, definitely going to put you in there.
Yeah.
So aside from kind of hit on teaching, let's kind of get on the coaching side of things.
Okay.
What made Coach Reid also want to actually coach? I know you said you did, you was told you were good with children. Does that also play a part in wanting to coach?
It does. My wife will tell you the only reason I'm teaching was so I could coach.
So you could coach.
I remember when we did intramurals at college, when I was at Elon and when I was at ECU, I not only played, we played ultimate frisbee or played flag football or whatever, but I would kind of run the team. So I was doing it, then. I also coached when I was in college. I coached when I was in high school. I coached soccer at the YMCA. I've done it my whole life. And I love watching that light go off when they figure it out.
Right, man.
When you take a kid who's hadn't quite got what it is they were supposed to do, and then all of a sudden that light goes off and they go, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And you see them develop as an athlete and you go, this is awesome. This is fantastic. So, and it's also more than just sports.
Right.
If all I've done is teach them how to play football or basketball or whatever, then I've not done my job. I want them to learn how to be a great teammate.
Right.
And Coach Phillips and I'll both say all the time, be a great teammate, guys. Be a great teammate. When you're on the bench, be a great teammate.
Yeah.
And support each other, whether you're in the game or not.
Right.
It also gives you a chance to spend more time. In the classroom, you're with them for an hour, maybe. But on the court and on the field, you spend way more time with kids. You learn their situation. You figure out a way you can help them out if you can. I give kids rides home. I bought kids shoes. I'm like, what can I do to help you out? I've sent messages to the high school saying, look, anything that kid needs, you let me know.
Right.
I know his home life is not perfect. Tell me if he needs shoes, if he needs a ride, if his parents need money to get in the game. I said, you just let me know.
Right.
Because I want him to be successful at all levels. But yeah, it's fun to see, and it's also fun to see them. They may not be really good at the classroom, but they get to show you what they can do on the field or on the court. And what'd you think, Coach? What'd you think? You can tell it, you can see it in their face, and they go, dude, this is awesome, So yeah, it's why I do it, and it's the one thing that I'll really, really miss, when I eventually retire from this. I've told Wendy, you think they'll let me come back and be like an assistant coach? Let me help.
What coaches actually inspired you? It can be NFL, NBA.
Right.
What coaches did you look up to, or even locally, that made you want? Or you was I want to kind of have his coaching style?
It's interesting. I love Joe Gibbs. For the Washington Redskins. Well, they're the Commanders. But Joe Gibbs was an amazing coach. And he also, when you heard players talk about him, they respected him. He was almost like a father figure, kind of like Dean Smith. Lefty Drizel one time said, Coach Smith's kids loved him. Mm-hmm. My kids might not love me. He said, but Coach Smith's kids loved him. They all came back to practices. They loved to see him when they saw him. They gave him big hugs. And, you look at Michael Jordan and James Worthy and those guys, man, they'd do anything for, Dean Smith. I think, you always love the X and an O guys, the guys that were, you could study what they did and you looked at the way they coach and you think, man, that just, the mind is, amazing. And their offensive mind or their defensive mind is amazing. And I love, the guys that I coach with. the guys that I've, helped and things like that is, it was fun to work with Minnie. When I first got here, Minnie McFadder had coached at Jacksonville varsity basketball down in Jacksonville. And I would always bring Minnie in because she had a great press and a press breaker. And even when she was coaching girls or wasn't coaching basketball, I'd invite her to practice sometimes, say, Minnie, show these boys how to break the press. How would you break the press, And she was a great mind when it came to that. Coach Thornton, when he hired me, it was funny when, we didn't do real well one year, and he said, Coach, he said, ain't nobody winning the Kentucky Derby on a mule. He said, it'll be okay. I mean,
Next time.
Right.
Did you ever want to, because it seemed like you always been in middle school. You never thought of coaching at a high school level, even like a college level?
I did.
And why haven't you?
Because I think, I was at a point where I had children, and my kids were young. They were under middle school age when I first started. They were in elementary school. Susanna, I think, had just started 6th grade. So they were in the middle school mix. And then, God bless those guys in high school. They do it 24/7. And they do it all year long.
Yeah. So you feel like, is it a little bit more with high school?
High school, and then, of course, college. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I know college is definitely a whole
right. It's a whole nother level. And I think in high school, too, I mean, because you're also at a point where, you're thinking about kids' futures. You've really got to be involved in trying to help them. Because, I mean, their goal is to get a scholarship, to go to college.
Right.
And so you've got to put in time, outside of just the field, helping them get in contact with other coaches and make sure they get their, tapes out or get the word out for them and, invite, try to get into that network of, a guy that coaches at Barton or something and say, hey, man, you got to take a look at this guy, It is amazing, the amount of work that those high school coaches put in. Right. And coaching in public schools is not big money. You don't do it for the money.
That's true.
Now, you do it for the money when you're in the
the college
D1 ranks and the pros and all that kind of stuff. But down here, it's for the love of the game and for the getting the kids. I'm doing it for the kids. You want the kids to develop as athletes. You want them to have the necessary skills to go to the next level. And they say, I want to see your 3-point stance. How do you tackle? How do you, your arm motion, all that stuff. They want to know what you've done. But yeah, I did think about it. I've had people tell me, my friends that live in.
You ever been offered?
I did. Todd Morgan called me up one time over the summer and said, come on down to Jones County. He said, I need a coach. He was the principal down there. And I said, Todd, I appreciate it. I really am. I'm flattered that you would consider me. I said, but I kind of feel like I'm where I need to be.
Right.
I love coaching middle school kids. I love seeing them develop and go to the high school and then go on a Friday night or a Tuesday night and watch basketball and seeing them out on the court and think, I had a little bit of help. I helped them just a little. It's really cool. And I think, I guess I probably would have done a good job. I mean, if I had gotten into coaching in the high school and taught in the high school and that sort of thing, I'm sure I could have done a good job.
Right.
But I'm where I need to be. And it's, when I'm done, it's funny, when I'm done with football, I'm just done.
Yeah.
It's like you cut it off and you say, hey, guys, we got tryouts for basketball in 3 days.
Right.
And then when basketball was over with, I'm like, all right, guys, congratulations, great championship. I got to go get ready for soccer tryouts. And it's all different kids. When I coach soccer, it's a completely different set of kids than I had in basketball, which sometimes is a completely set of different kids than I had in football.
Right.
So it allows me to work with different groups. And a lot of times when you are the head football coach at the high school, you do coach other things. Right. You might coach tennis or something like that, but you are a head football coach 12 months out of the year.
Right.
You do it over the summer, you do it in the fall, you do 7-on-7, you do, you're always thinking about, conference stuff. Well, who are you going to be playing next year and all the different things that go along with it.
Gotcha.
Plus, the Sun Journal was never writing articles about we need to fire Coach Reid when he had an O season. You know what I mean? I didn't need
Right.
all the headaches. There's nobody waiting for my job at the end of the year.
Yeah.
When you gonna fire Reid so I can go in there and work, do it.
Especially being a New Bern High, because we're a football town. So
Right.
if you're not, they feel like the coach ain't doing what they're supposed to do or getting us to the States or at least the playoffs.
Right.
Feel like they're trying to push you out. So
Yeah.
I dig that.
It's tough.
It is.
And the success that they've had is amazing.
Right.
When you look at from the past 24 years, from the 2000s to now, the number of state championships and number of playoff runs, and I mean, that's impressive.
Right.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
There are guys that never get there.
Yeah.
There are schools that, get put out of the first couple of rounds all the time and they never make it to, the semifinals, the finals. I mean,
Right.
so that's an impressive run.
It is. So to transition, I want to kind of talk about, because you asked me off camera about marriage and stuff.
Right.
I want to talk about your wife. What does she mean to you and like your success of how you got? Did she play a role in any of your success and where you got, and how is that?
She is. It's funny. She'll tell you, she'll say, God, I hate football season, but she doesn't. But she knows how important it is to me.
Right.
She also knows that I won't be there on, Wednesday night, and that I will have late practice sometimes, and that I might have to drive some kid home, and I won't be there at dinner time. But she also knows that it's real important to me.
Right.
She is looking forward to the day that I do retire and I don't do this. But she has been amazing. It's funny. She used to go to the games more, but she gets angry when you listen to fans yell about me in the stands. She goes, I don't go because I can't sit there and listen to them.
Yeah, make her want to say something.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And like she said, it used to kill her. She'd be sitting in the stands at a basketball game saying, put your hands up on defense. And like, she said, I just can't watch it. It's just too much.
Right.
But no, she was great. And she supports me 100% in everything that I've done. And I'm blessed. She would take care of things that, she knew that if I wasn't home, that she would do it. She also, if I was late, I try to spend time with the kids and the family all that I can.
Right.
But she knows that there are times when it's going to be tough, because it is important. And also being the athletic director, there are times when even if I'm not coaching, I might be out here at a game until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Then I'm counting money. Then I'm putting concessions up. I've got to haul things back and forth. And right. Yeah. So there's a lot involved. But no, and it was fun when John played football for me. I mean, he wasn't the greatest football player in the world, but it was fun to be on the sidelines with John. And Susanna played golf here. She was a cheerleader. I mean, it's cool to be involved. I was also glad Tabari, before he came here, he was at Havelock, and he offered me the job at Havelock. And I said, Tabari, I'm flattered. It would be awesome.
Havelock Middle?
Havelock Middle.
Okay.
I said, but my kids are here. I mean, when they go to high school, I'm not going to see them as much. They're going to be, driving and doing their thing. And I said, this is my time to be with them. So I stayed, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I was here. And I mean, heck, my wife laughs. She goes, your wardrobe looks like SpongeBob. All you have is red and black, gray, red and black. So everything I own is War Cup colors.
Yeah.
She said, if you left to go to another school, I don't know how in the world we'd afford to clothe you.
Yeah,
So
had to change the wardrobe.
That's exactly right.
Talk about so you talk about Suzanne, your daughter. So you actually grandpa.
Yes, I am.
Talk about the excitement of that.
It is amazing. His name is Kit. He's a little boy. It's Kit, and he was named after my mom's maiden name, which was Carpenter. So he's Kit Carpenter Young. Susanna married Bryce Young. He's the golf pro at New Bern Golf and Country Club. He went to Grover, and they met in high school and have dated through high school. They both went to Appalachian State together, and they're a great little family.
Right.
But it's awesome to see that little joker light up when he sees you.
Yeah.
And and it's funny. She asked me, she goes, "Dad, what do you want to be called? You know, what's your grandpa
Yeah, they got
name?"
a lot of names now.
Right. And I'm like, I don't know. And I said, how about Coach? And she said, that'd be great.
Coach.
So yeah, so they say
different.
they say all the time, like, you know, Kid, let's go see Coach. And so she's hoping that, you know, it catches on and, you know, he'll call me Coach.
You say he's how old?
He's 7 months old
7
now.
months,
So
okay.
but yeah, so I was like, why not?
You're gonna be saying it too.
Right.
Coach.
So, yeah, and it's funny. That's one of those things that's that is really rewarding about coaching.
Right.
I mean, even the guys at the firehouse call me Coach, and they're on my uniform on the back of my jacket. There's a nameplate down at the bottom, and it says Coach. So it's more than just my job. It's kind of, you know, partly who I am.
Gotcha.
So that's, and it's fun to see kids that I taught and coached years ago.
Right.
You know, hey, Coach Reid. Hey, Coach Reid. So, yeah.
Nice. So I do want to get on one little deep topic. If you've seen, I know you have seen, because we talked about it one time before, if you remember, but how do you feel about some of the students or past players that you have seen lost their lives, like, due to like gun violence? Because I know you remember one.
Right.
Chris Mills.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Chris. How does that make you feel, just knowing, like, I've coached that kid, I've taught that kid in social studies? How does that make you feel?
It breaks your heart. Because you want them to be dads.
Right.
You want them to be a successful businessman or whatever it is, whatever their dream is.
Right.
We just recently lost a kid this year to cancer. I mean, a 13-year-old.
I seen that.
It wasn't, you know, gun violence, but
yeah.
to see a child.
Did he play for you?
He did. He played football. And it's just it does. And Chris isn't the only one. There's been some others, you know, and it does. It's sad. I forget that soccer player's name who passed away. Big, tall soccer player. But yeah, and it's, you know, and then you hear about others that you really had high hopes for, and you think, and you hear about them being incarcerated, or you hear about them doing something they weren't supposed to do. Right. And you hear it through the grapevine, and you know, and you think to yourself, "What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Right. Could there have been something that I said or did that might have helped him where he wouldn't?" You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you want them to be successful, you want them to be, you know, achieve what they want to achieve, and it is super hard. Tough. It really is. Right. Yeah, it breaks your heart. It really does.
I got you. Yeah, that was a tough one for me too, because it was like, I remember when we was, because I'm not gonna say he's like my best friend, but we was definitely close. Close enough to the point where he stayed with me the whole Christmas weekend.
No kidding.
When we was in middle school. So yeah, when we was playing for you, it was that whole week, that Christmas break, he stayed with me literally the whole week.
I remember I have a picture of all of us when they did. You could take pictures with more than one person in the, you know, that would like, and so we got jerseys out. It was me and you and Mike and Chris and somebody, there was...
we had, me, Chris, Shaymon.
Right.
And Bobby Kuhn. It was Bobby.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a picture of all of us in the, you know, y'all are standing around, you're wearing your World Cup jerseys, and it was like,
If I can find it, I'm gonna put it.
I've got it somewhere.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's
man. I mean,
yeah, it's
and
crazy
then,
just to see that picture, and it's just like the person that's in that picture is not here anymore.
right. It's tough. And I had a good friend of mine pass away when I think we were freshmen in college, and going to a funeral of somebody who's under the age of 20 is just tough thing to do. So I hate to read about somebody who's I know that I've taught or who's in trouble or or something's happened to them or and it is you almost feel like, God, man, could I have done something different? And I know there's some things I can't do. I mean, I can't save the world, but you think to yourself, what could I have done different? Is there something I could have said? Is there, at all,
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah. So retirement, how many more years do Coach Reid have?
I got about 3, which is crazy. So I started late. I did retail for a long time. I started late. So what the state does is they will let you do the number of years you've taught plus your age. If it equals 85, you can retire.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll be 60. I will have taught for 25 years, which is also hard to believe that it's been that long. So that's kind of the plan right now is to do the 85 thing, do when I'm 60. And, and I also think to yourself, am I going to be out of touch when I'm 60 years old? Am I an old man that is not hip with the kids? You know what I mean? Because some of the music that, that we listen to is different than, I mean, heck, than what y'all listen to.
Yeah.
I can remember, Fat Daddy and those guys that were, had, I remember they had the slouches. They wore the slouches.
Yeah, slouches.
I mean, we wouldn't pull slouches out now for a basketball game.
No.
I mean, and everybody wanted longer shorts. Now everybody rolls their shorts up. They want them, like John Stockton. Yeah. I mean, so times change, but the kids are really the same.
Right.
But, you hope, I don't want to be so out of touch that the kids look at me and go, this old man, God, this guy's ancient,
Yeah.
So we laughingly say things like, y'all don't stay up all night on the Snappergram, get off of the Insta chat, and they laugh. What are you talking about, Coach? So yeah, you just, you kind of joke them a little bit and,
right.
But it's, eventually because I do want to spend time with, I want to be grandpa. I want to be able to go to games, take him fishing, hang out with my grandson. I think it'll be or whatever grandchildren I have.
And that'd be the right time too, because
right.
you say like 3 years. So when he's about 3 or 4,
it'll be cool.
That'd be
it'd be really cool. And I know my wife is like, hey, we want to do things. Let's travel somewhere. You can't like you said, I run a pool during the summertime. So I leave the school and I go to run in the pool at the country club during the summertime. I'm in charge of all the lifeguards. I run camps there at the pool. And so my summers are full. Right. And then I go back to the school. And so eventually there's going to be a time where I want to be able to say, hey, I want to work when I want to work.
Right.
I'll take what retirement the state gives me and I'll say, and I'll supplement it. I'll do a little something else on the side, but it'll be on my terms, which will be nice.
Is there what hobbies though, like are you into, like when you're done, excuse me, what do you think you'll actually be doing? Do you think you'll still be trying to squeeze in and find some kind of assistant coach? I know you play an instrument before? Did you play?
I do. I've tried to play the bass a little bit, which is, because my son is an amazing guitar player. Yeah. And anything with the strings. So he's taught me some stuff.
So what would you be doing other than coaching?
Right.
What do you think
I'll be on the water.
On the water? Some fishing or something?
Yeah, exactly. I got a little boat. I live on the creek. I live on Wilson Creek, so I get out on the Trent River.
Okay.
I love going to the beach. Anything on the water, sailing, boating, motorboating.
You work at
I really am not a golfer.
Gotcha. Okay. You'll be enjoying that retirement.
But I will enjoy the retirement. We'll travel. I'd like to see some other places. I'd love to go to, I've been to a few professional games. Like I went to Cleveland. John and I went to Cleveland and we saw the Yankees play the Indians. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was awesome. Things like that. We went to the Brown Stadium. I wish I'd gone to Canton and seen the Pro Football Hall of Fame while I was there. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But I'd love to go to Yankee Stadium. I'd love to go to, Soldier Field. I'd love to go to, out in LA, and things like that. I'd love to see a Laker game. I'd love to see the Celtics play.
So it sounds like you want to do some traveling.
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be really cool.
Nice. We had the wife along with
Oh,
you.
yeah.
I think she'll be happy to go.
Oh, yeah, she'll go. We saw the Spurs play. That was a lot of fun to see Popovich and the Spurs right there in San Antonio. I mean, that was pretty cool. It was before they got Wembanyama. The new guy.
The new guy. Yeah, something like that.
But it was really cool to see, professional ball in San Antonio. And see all the trophies, that they had won, all the NBA titles and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'd like to, travel around. Yeah, she'll want to do something else, and then I'll say, "Hey, can we sneak in a ball game?" And so, yeah, she'll be fine with that. She'll be fine with that.
All right. So we are going to get ready to close it out.
Okay.
Before we get out, I do want to ask. So I'm going to ask you, who would you like to see next on the show for me to interview? And before you answer, you got to kind of help me get that person. So who's somebody that you think you would like me to interview? Or that you would like to see next?
That's interesting. Dang, man, that's hard.
Coach Lee, McFadder, Curlins, Torrance.
I think it'd be really cool to talk to Coach Curlin.
Coach Curlins. Okay.
Now that he's retired.
Right.
I mean, you talk about a football mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Gotcha. Okay.
He's such a nice guy too.
Okay. Coach Curlin.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
So we're gonna try to get.
That's right. You gotta get Curls up here. I think that'd be cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a perfect time. Like you say, he's retired. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's done it all. He's he's seen a lot of great athletes and won a lot of titles. He's had a lot of success. Just picking his brain would be fun to talk to him about, things and that sort of stuff. That would be.
I did want to ask you one other thing. Do you still take your kids to the ECU games?
I do from time to time if we can work it out. Like we didn't go this year. But we went last year. I think we went last year. I try to take them. I love to expose them to college.
Right.
So that they can see. I've taken soccer teams to different games. It's a lot of fun because there are a lot of kids that college was never really an option. Mm-hmm. They might be the first kid to think about going to college in their family.
Right. You've been doing that for years too. It's good to see that you still continue to try to do that because you was doing that since I was here. So.
And it's fun to see them experience things that they've never experienced before. When they get to go to a game and they see, the court and all the lights and all the stuff going on, and they get excited.
When you took us, that was the very first time I had the little dot ice cream.
Right.
I never seen those. I never had a dot ice cream, so it was cool just to see something like that. I'm like, and they were good. So yeah.
I can remember a kid one time asking me. He said, "Coach Reid, what is that place over there?" And I said, "You mean?" He said, "That restaurant with the big red thing out in front of us." I said, "You mean Chili's?" He goes, "Yeah, Chili's." He goes, what do they have? I said, "It's like a Mexican place." I said, "Well, it's kind of like Applebee's." I said, "Have you ever been to Applebee's?" He said, "No." Wow. I said, "Well, you sit down at a table. The waitress will come over and take your order." I said, "But you can order anything, get hamburgers or whatever." And I said, "Like, when you go out to eat, man, where do you go out to eat?" And he's just like, "McDonald's, or we don't go out to eat." So the fact that they get to leave the comforts of Craven County and get on a bus and with $10 in their pocket and go to a game, and they get to eat in a restaurant, and they get to walk around the stadium and see pictures of, college players, and you can take them to see trophies that, the teams have won and things like that. It's cool. It really is. And it's, if it exposes them to something new and different, I think it's important.
It is. Yeah.
It gives them opportunities that they may not have thought they had.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's dope. I love that. All right, Coach. Well, again, y'all, this is the interview. I appreciate you again.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully this opened up an avenue for me to do even more people, other coaches and
Right.
whoever else. But again, like I said, I want to give you your flowers because you taught me social studies, you coached me, and everybody like remembers Coach Reid. And the thing I love about you is like, even though you try to stay in touch with your students.
I'll try to, yeah.
You try to stay in touch for afar. And even if you don't talk to them a lot or every day, you still try to show support.
Well, I appreciate it.
Everything that I do outside of, from sports and everything that I do, like now in my adulthood, you still try to show some kind of support. So I want to give you your flowers. I thank you and love you.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
I love you, bro, man.
Always.
This is awesome. This is awesome. Yes, sir. Thank you.